Hey everyone. I want to take a few minutes to make sort of a unscripted, off-the-cuff video here to show off one of the projects that a friend of mine is working on. If you have paid any attention to my channel as I've started it this past 3 weeks or so, you'll know that I have done a lot of videos on the Silver Falls series. The developer of that, Jarrell Dulay, is a friend of mine, and I'm a big fan of his work. I'm a big fan of his design philosophy of I make games I would want to play, not necessarily games that will make me a lot of money. I think that's very admirable, and I love that. And I genuinely like the games that he creates. I like the ethos of it as well as the atmosphere of it. But he's branching out into other IPs, instead of focusing just on Silver Falls, which I think is a great idea. As much as I love Silver Falls and would want more games, that's a great way to burn yourself out. So, what you're seeing here is the playable teaser, what he calls the vibe check, for an upcoming game of his called Breath of Thunder. Now, he's trying to raise funds for this through Kickstarter, and I was one of the early backers. I backed his Pokemon Mini Kickstarter, which does provide him a little bit of a precedent for living up to these Kickstarter promises. Everybody's reasonably weary of Kickstarters, and especially Kickstarters for indie games, because how many times we get burned on those. I've backed probably 10 successfully backed Kickstarter games, and only ever seen 6 of them actually end up getting made. So I understand that. But he's got the precedent with the Pokemon Mini Kickstarter he did about a year ago, and that game just came out this week. Not to quote politicians, but promises made, promises kept. And if you look at his games over time as they've released, and my reviews can sort of show you that if you are interested in watching them, he is a constantly improving developer. Silver Falls sort of got a bad reputation early on because the original release of the first game, 3 Down Stars for 3DS, had a lot of performance issues. The 3DS is not necessarily the most powerful hardware, and it was his first major game release, so a lot of the initial reviews of that were kind of understandably negative. And while every game since then has been dramatically better than the game before, as he learns and develops his skill, and even 3 Down Stars got a huge update that really improved performance and vastly improved the visuals. It's been hard for him to sort of shake that initial negativity. So, because of that, and the reputation of indie game Kickstarters, his Kickstarter for Breath of Thunder is kind of struggling. It's it's just about a quarter of its goal, not quite. His goal with 25 days to go as of time of recording is about $20,000 US dollars, although the Kickstarter's in Australian dollars, and he's raised about $4,700 so far. So I'm gonna, as you're watching this playable teaser, which doesn't have any combat, but gives you a good idea of how the game will feel, the atmosphere, the vibe of it, and the kind of NPC interactions you can see. As you're watching my playthrough of this, I'm going to just sort of go through some of what the Kickstarter says, because I would love for people to give it a shot. Give this Kickstarter some attention and some backing. His opening teaser is, travel back in time to when the world was not so complicated, when RPGs were created with only 3 things in mind: adventure, fun, and creativity. Breath of Thunder has channeled the magic of the golden age of RPGs from the 90s to combine classic design philosophy with modern game sensibilities. I think that perfectly creates what he's trying to do. This game is in a lot of ways a reaction against some of the trends in modern RPGs that Jarrell does not like, and I agree with him on that. I miss when RPGs were straight turn-based. Not that I don't think action RPGs with real-time combat is awesome. I love Xenoblade Chronicles. Not that I don't think the action time battle, or whatever the hell they're calling it, that's cool too. I loved the original Final Fantasy VII, and they sort of pioneered that. But my comfort food, my RPG bread and butter, was 8-bit Dragon Quest, 8-bit Final Fantasy, 8 and 16-bit Phantasy Star. and that was Golden Age turn-based RPG. That's the kind of magic he's trying to recreate, with a story that's not necessarily, dealing with allegories of real-world geopolitical turmoil and environmental chaos. It's your classic story of good versus evil, without the real-world connections that kind of emotionally bog it down. So that's sort of the premise here. The base target, and he's got this written in Australian dollars, so I'm going to read it in Australian dollars. Keep in mind, 30,000 Australian dollars is about 20,000 US dollars. So the base target, that 30,000 Australian dollars, would get the game made on Switch, Atari VCS, which I love. I don't care if it's a crap flop. I love that it's a weird console and that he's putting a game on it. Would also release on the Playdate. Never really gotten behind that, but to each his own. The Vita as a homebrew version, and on Steam, which I imagine is how most people will play it. Now, we're hoping to hit the base goal. It's unlikely any of the stretch goals will get hit, which breaks my heart for reasons you'll see in a moment, but I am going to list what the stretch goals are, so you can see the kind of ambition that Jarrell has as a developer, regardless of whether this game makes any of these. So that was the base target, 30,000 Australian dollars. At 48,000, he would make a completely unique PSP version that would be distributed as free homebrew. At 61,000, a unique Nintendo DS version distributed as free homebrew. At 76,000, he'd do a cross-platform open source through RPG Maker 2003 to make it easy for players to mod the game however they want. 91,000 would bring a unique Game Boy Color version with physical cartridges and availability as a free ROM. 152,000, a unique Dreamcast version with free digital distribution for burn discs, if that's your thing, or with emulation. 168,000, it would launch on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 digital storefronts, as well as on the Xbox Series S and X digital storefront. He doesn't specify Xbox One. I don't know if that would be included, since the Series X is basically just a beefed up one, but it's at least going to be on Series, if that stretch goal were to be hit. At 229,000 Australian dollars, a unique version for the PS1, distributed for free. At 305,000, and this is where it starts to excite me, a unique Jaguar version, distributed as a ROM. 351,000, a unique Nintendo 64 version, distributed as a ROM. 458,000, he'd have the funds to put forward to get a limited quantity of physical Switch cartridges made, which, oh my god, would be my wet dream. At 543,000, a unique Sega Saturn version, also very exciting to me. 611,000, a unique Game Boy Advance version with a physical cartridge as well as ROM availability. 760,000, this is cool, a unique Virtual Boy version, distributed as a ROM. And at 916,000, which would be somewhere around 600,000 US dollars, he just says, mystery box, let the community pick something crazy. The examples he gives are maybe the Genesis, maybe the Lynx, maybe the Super Nintendo, but who knows? NES, Master System, 32X, maybe a Sega CD version with some of the CD audio. 3DO is an option. I've been trying to plug this in the 3DO Discord communities. Or, maybe he could do something with GameCube. I don't know, what SDKs he's got, but that mystery box, very, very unlikely to hit. As in, like, 1,000,000 to 1 chance. But if it did get hit, that would be rad. So, that's just sort of what I wanted to do. Give it a little plug. I'm a huge fan of Jarrell's work in general. I love the look of this game. I love the feel of it when I played that teaser. And the soundtrack is very reminiscent of the kind of musical feel that his music for Silver Falls has, but with a distinct sort of, quaint, rural town kind of a vibe to it, which really fits the setting in this playable teaser. Please consider backing this Kickstarter. I have backed it. I backed the Hero NPC pack that will have me appear in the game as an NPC with dialogue and whatever item I choose. That was 160 Australian dollars, or about 107 US dollars. For me, absolutely worth it. Even though that tier does not include the game. I'm fine with that. I will be happy to buy this game when it launches at retail, because I like what he's doing. I like his design philosophy, and I want to support this guy's work. And I hope you'll consider doing the same. If you are interested in trying the Playable teaser or in backing the Kickstarter, as I hope you will consider, the links will be available in the description, as well as a link to the Silver Falls website if you want to check out his work there.